Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Before we get started, I just want to tell you that I have no idea how to work YouTube or any of that, and I'm doing this all from my phone. So that's why it's all bad, sloppy, and stuff. I'm 25 weeks pregnant with a little girl. Yay. um, so, where do I begin? Me and my boyfriend have been together for over a year and like 3 months. Uh, but at one point, we were forbidden to see each other or talk to each other or anything like that. It was really bad. But we found a way to see each other and stuff without our parents knowing. And well, one day I was out in the field riding my horse because I barrel race and I was practicing and stuff. She had slipped and fell on me, but I was fine. I thought I broke my foot. But I called my mom from the field and I was like, this just happened and stuff like that. And she helped me get up to the house. And for some reason, I was feeling really nauseous and stuff. So after she had slipped and fell on my foot, I was put in the boot. I couldn't really walk or anything, but I was put in a boot because I almost broke my foot, but I didn't. And after that incident, I lost my appetite completely. I don't know why. I lost all appetite, and I felt nauseous, and I was obviously I was like, I don't know, 2-3 weeks late on my period, but my menstrual cycle was messing up before that, and I had missed a month before that, and I was like completely fine. I was like, it's nothing. Well, so I started feeling nauseous for a couple of weeks maybe, and then my boobs started getting sore, and I was like, okay, something isn't right. Like, this has never really like happened like this before. So my boobs started getting sore, and I called up my friend Bree. I was like, hey, can I come over and spend the night with you and like take a test because take a pregnancy test because something isn't right. Like, something isn't right. And so I had gone over to her house. She had helped me buy a pregnancy test because I'm like really shy. So it's buying a pregnancy test isn't something that's easy for me because I'm not afraid of like judgment or anything. I don't really care what people think, but I don't know. And so we got back to our house and I was like, I'm gonna take it in the morning because they're most accurate in the morning. So the next morning, I took the test, and it was clear blue, so it like couldn't be wrong. Because I don't trust like the other ones with the false lines and stuff. So I was like holding it and I was waiting for it to process. I was like, I didn't know how they worked. I didn't even read the package or whatever. I just did it. And so I was like, what is these little things popping up? But it was it processing. And so I was just waiting there, and finally it popped up pregnant, and like my heart dropped to my stomach, and I was like, this is false. I was like, this is false. This isn't real, you know? Like, this one's false. I'm gonna take the other one in a couple hours. Well, I go in there to Bree, and she's like, yeah, just take the other one in a couple hours. It might be, you never know, and stuff like that. So a couple hours went by, and I I took the other one, and I was like, you know what, please don't be the same. Don't be the same. Don't be the same. Uh, well, I took the other one, and I was again holding it here, and I was like, uh, sorry, my mom just texted me. And it popped up pregnant again. I was like, this. I was in total shock. I couldn't believe it. Like, I couldn't believe it. Even though both of them said it, I was like, this can't be real. So I didn't cry or anything because shock. I was in shock. And so I went in there to Bree. She was like, well, good luck. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna need it. I was like, how am I gonna? I was so scared. I was like, how am I gonna tell my parents? How is this, like, how? Like, and so that day I went home, and I was planning on keeping it a secret for like 2 months. I was planning on keeping it a secret for like 2 months because I wanted to finish out the barrel racing season. I was like so dedicated to it. I was like, I have to finish barrel racing season. So I was like, I'm just gonna keep this a secret for 2 months. Well, I got home, and I could not eat a thing. I was throwing up constantly. I couldn't eat a thing. I was losing so much weight, and uh, so a week later, I was like, I can't do this. I need to tell my mom. I need to tell my mom. I had a friend from the barn come over, and I told him. Wait, back up a little bit. Back up. A couple of days after I found out, I had texted the father, my boyfriend, and I was like, hey, we need to meet up. I was like, I need to tell you something. Like, we need to meet up. And so we met up, and he had no clue. Well, he sort of had some sort of clue because I had been telling him that I was being like really, really sick. And so he was scared. So I showed him the test. I didn't say a word, I just showed him the test. And then I put his hand on my heart because my heart was like pounding, and I was like sweating and shaking. And so he just like, his mouth dropped, and he looked at me, and he was like, seriously? And I was like, seriously. And he hugged me, made me feel a lot better. He hugged me, and so that's how I told him. I think he was in shock just like I was. He really didn't have any emotions to it. He was just in shock. And so anyways, back to where I was. So a week later, I had my friend from a barn come over, and I showed him, and we were sitting at the counter and with my mom, and we were like dropping hints to her. We were talking about gender reveals, stuff like that. We were just dropping hints to her, and she wasn't catching on. So he was like, what would you do if you got a grandkid? And she was like, I'd probably throw up. And then he like took a bag and held it up to her, held it up to her mouth. And then she like, her eyes got wide, and she looked at me, and she was like, you're pregnant? And I was like, I was crying and I was like, yeah. And so she just like, she went like this, and then she like came over and she was crying and she hugged me and she was like, I'm there for you 110%. We're gonna get through this. And she asked me what I wanted to do, like, like keep it, abortion, stuff like that. I was like, I I don't believe in abortion. I can't do that. That's murder. It's taking a life. I can't do it. And I'm so glad I didn't. But I mean, obviously that kind of option came across my mind, and I can't even believe it came across my mind because like I have this precious little girl, and it's like, God, I can't imagine. Um, so I had guessed I was around 7 weeks or so when I told her. Um, so World Championships for barrel racing was coming up, and I was like determined. I was so dedicated. I was like, Mom, I have to go to this. Like, this is my last thing. I swear, I just have to go. And after a lot of begging and stuff, we went. And I didn't make it to finals, but I had really good runs. Um, well, after that week, we went to the doctor, and she had said that I was like 9 weeks and 4 days, and everything looked fine and stuff. And so I was like, I have to tell my dad. I have to tell him now. So my brother, he was supportive too. He like came up to me and he was like, I wish you would have told me and stuff like that. And so he was like, I'll go and tell Dad with you, but you have to tell him and stuff like that. And I didn't know how my dad was gonna react or anything like that. So after we finished eating, I couldn't tell him. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. But I got a napkin and I wrote, I'm pregnant, please don't hate me. And I gave it to him, and he kind of just, he looked at it like this, shook his head. He was like, I don't want to talk about this in the restaurant. So we went back to his house and we talked about it. He asked me questions, same as my mom, stuff like that. And he was really supportive. And so that, he was really supportive, and I'm so thankful for my parents being as supportive as they are and stuff like that. So after that, it was pretty smooth sailing. I was when I don't know how Brad's parents reacted really. Um, we're allowed to see each other and stuff. We have very strict limits, but at least I get to see him. And yeah, so his parents called me at Holiday World. I went to Holiday World. I just went in the water park though. I couldn't ride any rides. I was 10 weeks pregnant. And they called me. They were like, Brad just told us, blah, blah, blah. You know, they asked me questions, stuff like that. I was shaking, crying. That's all I can really think of. But everything's really good. Her due date is March 3rd, 2019. And we're getting her room set up. Everything is so nice. Like, it's hard. I'm not gonna say it's not hard because it's really hard. But it is so worth it. It's so worth it. So make sure to subscribe and like this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.